Welcome to an all-new episode of Her Playbook. The Her Playbook podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop jewelry styles designed for every day and every occasion at your local Kendra Scott store or kendrascott.com. I am thrilled.
I love Kendra Scott.
Right? Me too. I've
What
got her
a
earrings
badass.
on.
Are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
I think so.
Ass
And if
is
not,
okay.
we'll edit it out.
All right,
you know?
badass is okay. She is badass.
She is phenomenal. I love her stuff, and I'm so thrilled to have her as a sponsor of our podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you on the podcast in studio. For our guests listening and watching at home, I'd like to introduce Jill Martin. Jill Martin, an Emmy award-winning television personality, a fashion expert, co-author of Fashion for Dummies. She is a New York Times best-selling author. She's a contributor to the Today Show. She is a designer and an entrepreneur. What can't she do, Jill? I'm so thrilled to have you in studio
Thank you
with
for
me today.
having me, because this has been, I am partnering with the Giants. I'm a proud partner of the New York Giants, but to be on this show where you promote, strong women who are fighting for all different things, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you doing it.
I'm so thrilled to have you here. Now, I mean, you mentioned being a proud partner of the New York Giants. For those of you listening to the audio-only version, you cannot see the fantastic Sherpa that Jill is wearing right now. I have one here as well, that it is... First of all, we got a Giants logo on this.
A model
this is
for the video portion.
This is the coziest item. I will be living in this all winter, all fall. I am so excited about this. But by Jill Martin, a new line that you have created, local collaboration with the Giants, local licensing. Tell me about how this came about.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you for that introduction. It's like my mom said that introduction. So I've been in the business for a lot of years. I'm 48. So I started, as a kid, and I'm now at the point where I had a big line on QVC, and I had breast cancer this past year, and it really caused me to sort of sharpen and fine tune where I'm putting my energy. I was a person who worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I felt like if you didn't work all the time, you couldn't get it done. And so during, my battle, I worked through it and I was on the air through it, but I really wanted to focus my energy in buckets. So I took my best-selling items, which this one that if you're on the radio, you can't see, but it's like if you follow me on social media, I'm in it no matter the temperature. I mean, I've been hot this summer in it but I'm only doing 4 items this year. And I'm doing a lounger and a hoodie. 2 I'm doing for the Giants. And then I'm doing a stuffed animal and a 10-foot by 10-foot family blanket. But the hoodie and the lounger are a local collaboration with the New York Giants. I've had an amazing experience with your team here. And what we're doing is just, you don't have to sacrifice style for comfort. So you see I'm in a slip dress,
right,
and the sweater over it. But I designed it with a blanket company. So it's something that every person should own. And I'm just really excited to bring it to the Giants. I saw on the other side, the coaches show. I had an event here last week with all the significant others, so all the wives and girlfriends of the team, and everybody loved it and got one.
Sure.
So I'm really excited to be here and honored to be a proud partner of the New York Giants.
And I love, like you said, stylistically, I mean, you are a fashionable woman. You've written books about it. You've hosted segments about it. And the fact that it's something that you could wear on your couch curled up watching a movie, or with a slip dress and out about town, or tailgating, it's so versatile.
Or the game, right? So, yeah, and what's great about it is I just really feel like sometimes we think we can't hold both things. Mm-hmm. When I first started as a woman in sports, I was one of the first people, in the locker room, and when it really became sort of a thing. Yeah. I feel like sometimes we feel like we have to wear, jeans, or we have to wear pants, or we have to wear, and I feel like I'm in a slip dress, I put it over it, like, doll yourself up. It's like you can still express who you are within the confines of being warm and being cozy. And so, I'm excited to bring that also into sports. Like sports are about to get a whole lot more stylish and cozier.
Now, we've touched on it a little bit. The era and the chapter that you're in right now, this entrepreneurial chapter, this Today Show chapter, but you did start in sports. You started also working with the Maury Povich Show. You have had such an interesting journey touching in so many different corners of the business. I'm curious, at what point did you know this was the vocation you wanted to pursue, and how did you get your start?
It's an interesting question because I feel like now, life is much harder than when I was growing up for kids who are graduating. But whenever I speak to someone, I'm just like, get out there, like just whatever it is. If you want a job, just get in somewhere. Just be somewhere. Don't wait for that perfect job because time is so crazy. And looking back now, you can't tell your younger self anything because you need to go through all those mistakes in order to be triumphant. But I started at the Maury Povich Show as an assistant. I saw Connie yesterday. She was on the show getting Maury. He had white bread with mayo and lettuce and eggs on every morning. And
what
I would
choice.
bring him. I know. And he's the best. And so I started there. And I always knew I wanted to be helpful for women. I always felt like I was given sort of like this ability. I always feel like confidence is the main asset, if you put it that way, that you should focus on. I think that brings everything. Mm-hmm. And so I interned at all the shows, and then I got a break in Miami and went down and I worked for the Miami Heat. I was a sports anchor there, then came back to work for the Knicks and the Today Show. And I've been there and QVC for almost 16 years. My pass at the Knicks still works. I'm on the board of the Garden of Dreams. I don't work there anymore, but it still works. And they just gave me my 15-year pin.
Amazing.
So I pretend, but now I'm so grateful because when I, started really when going through treatment, which I know we'll get into, and had to focus, I went and got all the licenses. So I got the MBA, WNBA, colleges, sororities, fraternities, New York Giants. And I just took my hero items, like the items I know work that I've sold, over and over again, and the top product with the top IP, and great distribution. And so that's the recipe for success. So if this doesn't work, I'm done. I don't know what else I'm going to do with my life because it took 48 years to get to the perfect recipe, but I feel like I'm here. But I feel like for this in particular, where you have a lot of young girls listening, I feel like there is no perfect time. There is no perfect job. There is no perfect place. Just start. And take a step. A baby step and a wrong step is better than no step. So, every choice you make or every choice you don't make has a consequence.
Right. That's so true. And it's so fascinating to hear about how, when you come up to New York, you're working at the Today Show, you're working with the Knicks, you're doing celebrity interviews on the games, you're working at QVC, you're designing your fashion.
Sleeping in the car, hustling, doing everything I could, thinking dating, got married, thought life was a breeze. And then one day, just things blow up.
It pivots. But it's one of those things, too, where it shows how many people in this industry have to have their hands in so many different baskets and so many different areas. And when you are doing that and you're prioritizing, okay, let me do this, let me get my licensing here. How did you keep all of those ducks in a row?
Right. And you also it's also really good to have that sort of, even your team, who's amazing, who's here today is Marissa and Kate, and I work with Katie. I know I've been in those positions, so I know the challenges that they incur. And so when I ask for something or when we're putting something together, I know what's needed. And so you don't know a puzzle piece that has come into your life and why it's there until later.
Right.
You just don't know. So, I have experience in producing. I have experience in being someone's assistant. I have experience in marketing. Just to have all of that, when we say, okay, we want to do a feature at the game, I could put together a feature in 10 minutes and it'll be right because I've been there. Right. And so it's really important to, you're never above anything. I am still on the floor, unpacking boxes, clean it, it's I'm always going to be that person because that's what it takes. Right. And so as an entrepreneur, I feel like, if you're not dreaming and thinking and all the time, sort of obsessed, like you have to be your own biggest fan. And always remember, the most important thing is that you're always listening. So be careful what you tell yourself. So that's a really important tidbit that I feel like, really is the thread to all of this right now.
Yeah. And you alluded to it as well. You've got so many things going on. And then just over a year ago, life threw you a plot twist. You were diagnosed with cancer. You found the BRCA gene. And that is something that a lot of women are familiar with, but some aren't. So
yeah,
can you
a lot
walk us
aren't.
through?
Yeah. So I'm trying not to cry, but I'm going to do my best. Yeah, it's okay. So last June, they were like, oh, why don't you just get this spit test, a genetic test, just to make sure, rule out, genetic testing. I have breast cancer on my mother's side.
Okay.
So in between meetings, I spit into a tube, sent it in, and 3 weeks later, I got a call saying, you have this gene. It's called BRCA. 25 million people have it, and 10% know they have it. Okay. And when I tell you if you have this gene and you are a woman, you have a 60 to 90% chance of getting breast cancer. 60 to 90. We're in a sport. Those are not percentages. If I told you you have a 60, 90% of scoring a touchdown, you'd be like, awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Like, in baseball, 30% is like Hall of Fame numbers.
So, right.
Yeah.
So like, just to put it in perspective, that's just one of the numbers. So they said, on the first call, you have to, we're suggesting that you go in and you get a mastectomy, which means that you get your breast tissue taken out, and you get a version of a hysterectomy, which is your ovaries and fallopian. This is all on the call. And I'm like, what? And they just said, thank God it's not cancer. So I go in so I go to the tests and the meetings, and imagine, this is like 3 weeks of every day a test. I go in, and when I went in for my MRI to get the preventive surgery, they found aggressive cancer.
Wow.
And the gene is actually on my dad's side, not my mom's, who had breast cancer. It was on my dad's side. So it's what I'm doing for this October and for the rest of my life is raising awareness around genetic testing, that if you have a gene or a gene mutation, there's preventive surgeries, there's screening, there's things you can do. But my goal is to make sure nobody has to go through unnecessarily. Sometimes you can't avoid it.
Right.
But, I went through a very, very aggressive chemotherapy regimen, and radiation, and 4 to 6 surgeries. I don't even know I haven't counted. I think it's 6 in the past year. And so like, I just want to make sure everyone is aware of genetic testing, and that even though there's no cancer history in your family, maybe breast cancer, but maybe your grandfather's sister, which in my case, it's my grandfather's sister, had breast cancer, we didn't know, just to be aware of it and to ask your doctor. So that's really what I'm committing my time and energy to, because I'm still coming out of treatment. I just had my last surgery about a month ago, and now I'm on like chemo pills, which are hard on me, but nothing like what I've been through. So I'm at a point now where the period is sort of like a ...
Yeah.
But I'm considered cancer-free, and all my planned surgeries, I say that because I feel like cancer doesn't want you to be like, I'm cancer-free, like I'm not bragging. I'm saying I put the work in.
Yeah.
And right now my doctors say I'm cancer-free. And so I know the Giants are so dedicated to helping and raising awareness with our platform. And with our platform, I just feel like, ask your doctor about genetic testing. And in general, like, if there is a way to prevent something for you and your family, do it. Like, you would never think it was me. Like, you're like, oh, that's not going to be me.
Right.
I was like the luckiest person always. I still consider myself the luckiest person. But, imagine, like, people see the girl on TV, with the big, life, and cancer, there's so many things in life that don't discriminate, no matter how nice you are, no matter how giving, no matter how hardworking. And so you just have to cherish like the happy times and just be your own best advocate. That's the best advice I can give.
It's so interesting. It's almost kismet that someone suggested to you, hey, take this test, just spit in a tube. Oh, okay, may as well.
Oh, it saved my life.
Because, a lot of people wouldn't pursue that, wouldn't seek it out.
Of course.
Unless it's right in front of them.
And in a year, it would have been incurable.
Wow.
So I would have died.
Wow.
I mean, it's like hard to say that out loud.
That's like chills.
I know.
Yeah. That is
because it would have spread. It was in the lymph nodes. So like, I mean, it's hard for me to.
Yeah.
I've never said that out loud, but it's hard to say that out loud, you know?
Right. Well, because you think about this, we hear so often, especially around the conversations around cancer, especially in the month of October when cancer awareness is at its highest, you hear the key is early detection, the key is early detection. But so many people hear that and think, what does that mean? You
Right.
know? And you mentioned being your own best advocate. You know, when you're talking to these young women and saying, hey, pursue this, what's the path? Do you go into your GP and say, hey, let me get a test for this? Is that just
Yeah,
is that
you
simple?
go to your gynecologist and you say, I just heard this podcast from Jill Martin about genetic testing. She tested positive for the BRCA gene on her father's side. Can you please talk me through if this is a blood test that I should be taking? Here's my family history.
Right.
And ask the questions of your family. I mean, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. And I mean, this could have been prevented. So, you know, my college roommate went to get tested because of me, and her father had it. And so if your parents have it, you have a 50% chance of getting it. If your parents don't have it, you can't. So one of your parents has to have it if you have it.
Wow.
So she got the preventive surgery, and she has 2 young girls, and they'll be screened. And like 25, 26 is when you sort of say, like, what should we do now? But she's aware of it, and she thanks me every day for saving her life.
I can't imagine. What about for those people who perhaps are adopted or estranged from their families or don't quite know the family history? Do you have to know that to bring that information to your doctor? Or can you say, hey, I'm not certain, but I want to take this test?
I'm not certain. And it's women and men.
Yeah.
I mean, men get breast cancer.
Right.
I have a friend who had breast cancer and who's BRCA positive. And there's other gene mutations too. So one of my producers got tested. She has a different kind of gene. I mean, I think that's a lot of people's situations. You know, they either lost their parents and never asked, you do as much research as you can. And then those tests are available, you know, to take. In some cases, they're expensive. In some cases, they're covered. You have to ask your doctor. But yes, even if you don't have your family's history, you can still be tested and understand. But it's like walk, don't run.
Right.
I mean, what I've been through this past year, and the chemotherapy is always what sticks out to me, just because it was confusing, because it's this person coming in a hazmat suit and you're getting hurt, but it's actually fighting for you. So I had to change the narrative to make chemotherapy my best friend. Like every morning I thank my pills for like being my safety net. I say thank you like at 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
But like if I can stop one person listening to this, like one person, and the biggest thing is saying, oh, that happens to other people, not me. Like I was that person.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, like, I mean, look at me. Like you wouldn't know. And it's a bigger thing to say, I know, because my hair used to look like Farrah Fawcett, and people are like, you got a chic new haircut. And I'm like, oh no, it's growing out from chemotherapy. But I mean, you know, you have to look at it the other way. And I think that's helped a lot of people too. Mm-hmm. It's what's gotten me through is my doctor saying, look at it as your best friend. Look at it as you need something that's called the red devil, which is what the chemotherapy was, to fight for you.
Right.
So I think that translates into other obstacles, even if you're not BRCA positive, just sort of switching the narrative. And because if I crawled up under the covers right now, no one would blame me. But instead, I'm choosing to sit here with you and to raise awareness. And so I hope that motivates other people going through really hard times to say, I can get up too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all have those moments where we think, okay, I need to take this time to process what I'm
Everyone's
going
going through something.
We are going through something. I'm going to give myself that time, but then I'm going to persevere and reapproach how I look at this. And I love how you said, you know, you could look at it as one way of like, wow, this person's coming in as a hazmat suit on, or you could look at it as this is something that is going to save me. And I'm so grateful for that. And it is so incredible because I think we all have our, you know, struggles that we go through on a day-to-day basis.
Every single person.
And we all have our
going through something.
It's going through something. But then it's in comparison, you know, it's like somebody say, oh, I'm tired today of this and that. You were fighting cancer and got up and went to work every day on television. You had a very public life. You lived this so publicly. Where did you draw that strength from?
It's interesting. I mean, I really feel like everybody you meet is going through something, especially now with the way the world is. So, I just like, I'm just like, be nice to everybody. Like, you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the prettiest. You don't have to be the most handsome. You don't just be nice to everyone and work hard. Like those two things you can do. And so I guess that's always been even to people who aren't, when people are not nice or not compassionate, my mind goes to, there must be something wrong.
Right.
But the problem is that when you're angry or mad, and then you're angry and mad at someone else, then you're spreading vitriol instead of being kind.
Mm-hmm.
I could come in here and feel like I've been through so much. I'm going through a divorce. I mean, there's a million things that I could say to you. But instead, I want to use this time to say, like, how can I help? I feel like at 48 years old, I figured it out. Like, I'm still learning about myself, and I'm always into learning and being better, and everyone could give you advice. But I feel like I have a lot to give. And so I do feel like I think I was raised in a way that, like, we do the right thing, we show up, we're nice to everybody. Like, that's how my family is, a very strict moral compass. But I do feel like, a responsibility. I feel like I was given so much, even though so much has been taken away from me.
Right.
I was given so much, and like such beautiful platforms. And so, like, to be here with you is truly like an honor, because we're reaching so many people to say, whatever you want to take, whatever comes out of this that they could take from us, to say, okay, this will get me through this day, or this is how I'm going to approach this. It's a much bigger passion project for me than just somebody who tests positive for the gene and, gets the preventive surgery.
Right. And it is so important too to spread that awareness. And I know that part of that is being so candid and so open about your journey from day one. But I'd imagine there's a bit of a challenge in having such a public life. You are a public figure. Are there moments in which these vulnerable elements of your life, it's hard to share with everyone?
Of course. I mean, of course you feel that. And of course, like, one of my like dear friends, her, Kathy Lee Gifford is one of my best friends, and we're honoring Frank, of course, this year with the 100th. And, but she said to me, because she always says to me, no matter what, make sure you get a manicure, pedicure. She's like, you'll just feel better. And I appreciated that kind of advice, and only your best friends can say that to you. She always said, you're, and I always love this, and she was so nice, but she said, you were so beautiful, and you used to walk into a room and heads turn, and then you lost your hair, and you lost your eyebrows, and you lost your eyelashes, and, I lost a female part,
right.
Many female parts. And so, she said, I understand how that must also feel from just a superficial standpoint. And I appreciated that, because you could hold all the things. You could want to be healthy, but like I was like, I just want to look like myself.
Right.
I just want to feel like myself. I was so sick. And so I do think like it's important to also say, when people are like, oh, I didn't want to tell you because, I have this, but you have cancer. I'm like, I don't want you to have cancer. Your problems are grief and pain is not equatable. Like, you cannot say, if you're going through something that is equal to what somebody else, just because you don't have cancer, thank God you don't have cancer. I don't want anyone else to have this. I mean, my heart breaks. But so I think it's really important, a long answer to your question. I think it's really important to know, and I really want to stress that you can hold both things. You could really be into sports and want to look beautiful, or want to feel your best and want to dress up and wear whatever. You can want to save lives and also say, I understand why losing your hair is such a big deal. It's part of your identity. I mean, my hair was like yours, literally Farrah Fawcett, and she went through it too. I watched a documentary on her. So the moral of the story is, when you lose things that are out of your control, like, you could always be nice. You could always be nice. And that is like, kindness is just so important, and what got me through, this challenging time. And being public about it in some ways was easier because people were so compassionate. Like, there's a woman, and I won't name her name, that works at the show, and she's always so nice to everyone and opening the doors and closing the doors and making sure everything's okay. And she came up to me and she said, you know, I battled this last year. And I was like, how did we not know that?
Yeah.
Because you are like taking care of everybody. So for me, at least I got the grace from everybody saying like, are you okay? Are you okay? And was handled. I can't imagine. And so many women go through it. So many women are protecting their kids and not telling them because they don't want their kids to be hurt. I mean, I literally couldn't walk into another room. I don't know how people do it. So now I spend my days like on the call on the ride here, talking to people who are a few months behind me in treatment to say, you know, I cold capped. That's how I saved 30% of my hair, and now it grew back. You know,
what is cold cap?
So cold capping is you have to sit for 12 extra hours, 10 to 12 extra hours the day of your treatment, which is not good. And it's negative 25 degrees, cold ice packs, and they put it on your head. Every 25 minutes, they change it to freeze the follicles so that when you're done with your treatment, because it makes you lose your hair, it grows back faster. So picture your follicles being frozen, and then when the medicine's no longer in your system, your hair starts to grow.
Right.
So people who have had treatment at the same time as me, who chose not to cold cap and are embracing their short, and they look amazing. But my hair is growing now, you know, and it's back. And my hair was like my thing.
Right.
You know, that was like, if I said to you, like, you have long, beautiful blonde hair too, but like it was my thing.
Right.
And so I chose to do that. But it was very hard on me and very hard on my body. And so I'll sit with, you know, there's a girl who's going through it now, who I'm like, okay, you know, we have 3 more, and this is what you do, and this is like what you take the next day, and, you know, so yeah, that's a really long answer to your question, but I hope helpful.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it is such a hurdle to go through. You know, you lose part of your femininity, whether it's your hair or your biology or whatnot, but regaining it and reconquering it. I mean, look at you. You're stunning right now.
Thank
and
you.
You're sitting here saying, like, I feel like I lost myself. I'm looking at you. Where?
No,
Because-
I accept that.
Yeah.
It's just like,
but I get it. We
someone
all
said it to me
feel-
last night. It's a different kind of stunning.
Yeah.
It's just I look so different. Like I look in the monitor and I'm like, that's not what I look like. And then I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
like my eyelashes grew back, and I just came from the Today Show, so I have full makeup on. But I'm proud of myself, and I'm more confident than I've ever been, because if I can get through that,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing I can't do.
And reacquainting with this new version of
To
yourself.
Jill 2.0.
Jill 2.0, which whether it's going through cancer or going through life changes or job changes or any sort of adversity,
Anything,
we
right.
all have to kind of reckon with, okay, who am I in this chapter and how do I make peace with that? And I just commend you for doing it with
Thank you.
such grace.
And what do you want to bring from your former self?
Right.
From like, let's call it Jill 1.0. Like, what did I want to bring over that warranted it? So I've gotten, my peace is non-negotiable, as Kathy Lee always says. So I'm living in a space now that I do what I want. I see what I want. I operate in kindness. I am, you know, like wearing Sherpas. It's very hot in here now, but I'm wearing it because I'm only doing 4 items now. And grateful, like really, really grateful.
One of the things I have to ask you, if you brought over from Jill 1.0 to Jill 2.0, I was looking at your website, and on your website, you have a fantastic fun facts section. And one of the fun facts that I had to read twice,
I know what you're going to say.
ventriloquism?
Oh,
Oh, no.
I thought the Club MTV dancer.
Oh, the Club MTV dancer is a great story. But a ventriloquist is a skill that I have never met somebody who could do.
Am I moving my lips?
No.
You can't see it. No,
You
so
can't see it, but you can hear it.
it's ridiculous. So
How
like
did that come about?
Well, I just think like my father was always the funny one. You know, he would go to a party. It does go to a party still, and he would go to the gift table and take the cards and write his name on every present. You know, so like I learned magic. You know, I went to a magic class, and then I heard clown school was fun. I was going to do that, and then I don't know. I was like talking one day, and I got a puppet. And I went on this rant at dinner parties, and people were like, "Who is this girl?" And then they're like, "Aren't you the one from the Today Show?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is like." So I did it on the air, and it was short lived, the ventriloquism section. But JillMartin.com is now moving into my Sherpa Central.
Absolutely.
So the fun facts will be eliminated. But thank you for bringing that up because
we need
Jill
those to live
1.0 is
on.
that's not coming over. But the Club MTV Dancer,
yes,
I am looking for a good time and I am looking to dance. So, I always, your team laughs at me and I know they're watching now, but I'm like, any place I go, I just want a disco ball, a DJ, and an embroiderer because we can embroider our pieces.
I love it.
But mostly it's fun and peace and health.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun and peace and health is something that we wish for all of us. And I love this Jill 2.0 journey. I'm so grateful to you for sharing this time with me and with our audience today. Ladies and gentlemen, Jill Martin, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you
Her
for
Playbook.
having me.
It's been a treat.
And I look forward to a great rest of the season together.
Absolutely.